Coming up next, your photography financial news with Panoptic chopsticks.
There's only one thing that we love more than eating food with chopsticks, and that's photography.
Our lead story tonight is global photography markets. With the downturn in global markets, we're finding a 22% decrease in compact sales compared to the higher value.
Wait, hold on. We're not going into that kind of financial news. But just so you know, Nikon turned 100 recently.
Yeah.
100 years.
If you look on the internet, everything says it's doom and gloom, Nikon's going under, right?
That's right.
Isn't that what you're finding?
That's what I've seen all over the place.
Yeah.
And, is that reality or is it just perception?
You know what? I did a little investigating this week into things, and here's what I'm finding out. We take too much stock in what other photographers are telling us, rather than, I think we have to look at Nikon as we look at any other corporation. Of course, there's downsizing, and you've got to start asking, well, why are they downsizing? Is it because they're failing? I don't believe so.
I don't think so either. And one of the things that's interesting when you look at all the different news stories out there, it really depends on the region too. You can have Japan, for example, which saw a big downturn in DSLR sales. Canon came way up in Japan. Nikon fell way down. But
so did Sony.
Yep, same thing.
Because over there, one of the stories I was reading is the fact that they're more accepting of the mirrorless cameras. Where in America, we think bigger's better, and you'll talk to photographers. Exactly. You talk to photographers now, and they're just like, that's a toy. You can't look at a screen.
Right.
You have to look through an eyepiece.
Yep.
And I got to admit, I was that way when I got my first A7. It was like, I know there's a screen on the back, but I kept sticking my eye up to it for about 2 days.
Yeah. Well, let me just ask you though, Mark. Do you think, because you hear all this gloom and doom, I mean, is the whole photography industry doomed? Are cameras doomed? What are we going to see?
No. Here's what I'm seeing is, and even if you look at these companies, their downward trends are in their consumer camera divisions. Of course, DSLRs are down a little bit, but consumer cameras, as far as all things concerned, that market's dead.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's gone, but I mean, it is dead.
Well, I think it's dead because of what's in my pocket here, right?
Exactly.
It's the cell phone.
Yeah. So here's what happened. In, 2010, we got something called Instagram. Yeah. It doesn't even matter if you are an Instagram user. It killed the compact market, whether we like it or not, because that's the first time that a manufacturer said, you don't need a camera anymore, you don't need a computer anymore. All you need is a telephone to put pictures on the web. The only reason we have a digital compact market is the fact that when the internet was created, everybody moved from boring everybody with an album to I'm going to bore you with online photos. Yep. So in this rush to get everything online, it was a nightmare. You had to take your 4x6 pictures, scan them if you even owned a scanner. Then you got to bring them into your computer. Then you had to resize them, shrink them down, make them the right size. It got too techy for most people.
I think so. So I think what's really made a difference though is having these cell phones, these smartphones that do everything that we want to. They actually are taking pretty doggone good pictures now. But I'm excited to see that a lot of the DSLR cameras out there, some of the brand new Nikons, Fuji's been doing it for a while, Sony's got some, and Canon have Wi-Fi built in. Yeah. And they've got apps that you can actually directly take your picture, post it right up on Facebook.
I own a couple of those little Nikon ones. Yep. When I got those things, man, it was just like amazing that I could take great photos with this tiny camera. Guess what? I never take them anywhere anymore because now my phone's taking pictures that are equivalent, that I can still use, because that's what I needed it for. I wanted to record the birthday parties without carrying pro gear around, and I can do that now. So I don't need it. This is the best. One of the best lines that I heard this week was, "People do not want photography; they want pictures."
That's good. That's really good.
They don't care about, I got to learn photography. No, I just want pictures to show people.
That's something that I think we can all learn, right? Is that it's not about the art of photography necessarily all the time, even though we all like to create the art, but it really comes down to, we just want to take pictures. When you look back at, Mark, the pictures of your childhood, right, that your mom made all these photo albums, and you look through these photo albums, they're just pictures. Most of them are snapshots, but do they mean something to you?
They do. They do.
Huge memories.
And my kids, they like to look at the pictures, but guess what? They also are my 7-year-old can work an iPad better than I can. So she knows right where to go to look at pictures. So she goes to the gallery, just like I used to go to the album.
So with all that in mind, where do you think this camera industry is going? I mean, really, where is it going? If we're moving towards this portable digital age,
I think it's good news for us as photographers. A lot of people are going, "Oh no, it's going to die." But you remember 5 years ago when everybody was complaining about everybody's got an uncle who has a Costco membership that bought a DSLR, and now I'm losing weddings to the guy, the amateur, because he's got good gear. Well, I think what's happening is those guys now are shifting and going, I don't want to carry this big gear around. I'll shoot it all with my phone. Those guys aren't going to get the wedding jobs. So it's going to open that market back up for those of us that are actually trying to make a living doing photography.
Yeah. It kind of brings us to our today's photo walk, right? So we're going to go out and we're going to take a photo walk to show what you can do with a DSLR that you can't really do with the cell phone yet. Now, I'm not saying they can't do it later on, but right now you can't. We're going to talk about some really difficult lighting situations that...
Yeah, and we put you in like the worst possible situation.
It was terrible.
We went to a place that absolutely had no shade because we wanted to see if Steve, with just a speed light or without a speed light, how could he overcome the sun with a portrait shoot in the worst lighting possible?
So let's go ahead, let's go out and take this photo walk today. Why don't you come along with us? All right, so we're out here today shooting an incredibly difficult scene, but it's actually a scene that you guys are going to come into contact with all the time, and it's very, very contrasty light. So we've got the direct sun. In fact, you can see I'm squinting into that sun. You've got deep shadows, dark blacks. It makes it very hard. And really, there's three ways that we can shoot this. We can shoot it natural light, we can shoot it with a flash, or we can shoot it with a full strobe. But let's go ahead and we're going to try natural light first. And I've got my D700 or D750 Nikon here. I'm shooting at 3/20th of a second at 2.8. All right, so if you set up your camera for that, I'm at 200 ISO. So I'm going to take a shot and see what happens. Our beautiful model here, Kira. Excellent. I'm going to take one more here. Perfect. So you guys can see that she's exposed well, but everything in the background is blown out. So I'm not worried about trying to catch a blue sky. Go ahead and give it a quick shot here. Give it a try. I'm going to do one more as well. Kira's awesome. She's always having so much fun.
Okay, guys. Okay, before you get into all your crazy lights, I want you to shoot a little old school.
Oh, we're going old school.
We forget a lot about good old reflectors. It seems like we shoot a lot with strobes and flashes, and we forget about them. They stay in the car. So today, let's pull it out. How about we try this first?
Let's do that. So Mark, why don't you go ahead and travel over there so we can catch some sunlight. We're going to bounce it right onto her face. So go ahead and hold it high. And you can see that her face is now completely lit up. It's almost like we took a spotlight and put it on her face. But guys, go ahead. And I'm shooting at 250th of a second f5 right now at 200 ISO. And you can see, again, we're getting that great color on her face. And just by adding that extra light in there with a reflector, it makes a huge difference, doesn't it? If you take a look at the back of that camera, pretty amazing. And that's pretty simple. You can just buy a reflector. You don't have to carry around lights. It just makes a huge, huge difference. So guys, next thing we're going to try is really not an ideal situation. In fact, I recommend getting your flash off your camera as many times as you can, but we're going to do some on-camera flash, and we're going to work again with Kyra here and take some pictures. So what I have is at 2/50th of a second, f5. I've got my flash set at 1/16th power. So basically I just want to fill in that shadow in her face. So I'm going to go ahead and pop off a shot here. I'm still shooting directly into that sunlight. It's just a crazy sunshine coming through. But check that out, like her face is exposed perfectly now. So you get still that sunburst in the back. Go ahead and give it a try. I'm gonna shoot with you at the same time. And how does that look? Good, so when you take a look at that shot, pretty amazing. All right, so the third way we're gonna do this, we're gonna use our flash again, but this time we've got Mike holding the flash. So he's my voice activated light stand. He'll do whatever I tell him to do, but I actually have him standing at a little bit different angle. He's at kind of a 45-degree angle there from my camera. So when I go ahead and fire off this picture here, I'm using a remote trigger and it's flashing. You can see here, now look at when I get those nice shadows on the right side of her face. Looks totally different than we had before. So anytime you can get that flash off the camera, a huge improvement. Again, we're just shooting bare flash. We're not using any kind of modifiers. I'm gonna take one more shot here. And you can see, Raji, bring up your camera, take a quick shot, and you'll notice the big difference from your first pictures to this one. So guys, we're at the last of our setups today. We're using a studio strobe and a big 48-inch Octobox. And we're gonna punch a ton of power towards her. It's gonna give us a nice blue sky and incredible exposure. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try. Right now I'm at 250th of a second, shooting at f8 and 200 ISO. And check that out. I mean, it just looks incredible. We've got incredible shadows coming up. I'm gonna do one more shot here real quick. Guys, get your cameras up and ready. We're gonna go ahead and fire away. Go ahead and take a shot. Let me know what you think. It should be pretty incredible. Mike, would you come up? Awesome, that's a great shot. Raji, what you get? Perfect. So that makes a huge difference. The more light that we can get on her, and using this nice big softbox gives her just an excellent look. Way better than using our off-camera flash by itself or our on-camera flash. And I love it way more than just that natural light look. All right, so we went through the 5 different ways that you can overcome that harsh light. First, we were just using natural light. The second one, we used that reflector. The third one, we used on-camera flash, and we went through off-camera flash, and then we used that giant softbox with the studio strobe. All different ways to get the same result, but each one got better as we went along. So we appreciate you coming along with us on our photo walk today with Panoptic chopsticks. We look forward to seeing you next time.
That was a lot of information.
It was, but you know what? That's so important that you learn how to shoot in all lighting conditions. You may be sitting there going, I'm never going to shoot in that kind of light. Well, guess what? There's going to be a day that you're going to have to.
Absolutely.
Do you know what time it is right now?
I think I do.
It's time for
Fortunate Questions. All right, today's question, we'll crack it open here.
Who is it
and
from?
See what we come up with. It is from, let's see if I can read it. It's from Sarah in Oakland. It says, should I marry my boyfriend?
My first question would be does he shoot Canon or Nikon? I just, off the top of my head, no.
No. It really says, how important is it that every picture tells a story?
I just find it becomes important to you after you take pictures for a while.
Well, it wasn't important to me until we went to India.
Exactly. And then the photographer with us really drilled into the fact that a lot of pictures look boring.
Constantly.
I think we did more drilling, pushing back, but it makes it really difficult these days for me just to take a simple portrait. We still make our money shooting portraits, like senior portraits, but boy, outside of that, I do get bored shooting portraits unless there's an element in there that makes it more exciting.
So what tells a story in a picture to you?
To me?
Yeah.
Generally, it's incorporating other elements around, and that doesn't mean just environmentally going, oh, he's a photographer and I see this behind him. It might be I see a tripod out of focus in the front where it tells a little bit more about that person. Yep. And so
I know, I have a friend who's a photographer, actually probably one of the best photographers I've ever known. I mean, the guy is absolutely incredible. And he creates these magical stories in every single picture. So, for example, he had a bride and a groom sitting in a bus stop of all places. And this guy comes rolling by on a BMX bicycle doing a wheelie right through his shot. Now, I would have been like, get out of here. You're ruining my shot. I can't believe it. That's the worst thing. I can't believe what happened. Get out.
I'd be going, just wait, guys, until this guy goes by.
He took this picture, bride and groom, the guy doing the wheelie at the perfect angle, and it made a magical picture. It was like, that's incredible, right? It told a story of the environment. And I would have gone, get out of here. But now, my wife, who assists me a lot of times when I'm out in the field, she's always like, remember that moment, remember the story, remember the story, remember the story, and like pounding it into my head too. And it really makes a difference in your pictures.
It does. And now that's a good question, because if you can incorporate some sort of story element into each picture you take, you're going to be much happier with it. Your clients are going to be much happier with it. And so,
but I don't think every picture has to tell a story, but it makes a big difference in most pictures. So Sarah, thank you for your question. We look forward to hearing more questions from you. So go ahead and email us, send us your questions, and we will crack them open every week.
Steve, it is time to talk raw.
That's right. Talking raw. Talking raw. Oh, you know what time that is? That's time that we get to sample a little bite of sushi.
You're going to eat the sushi. I'm going to show you a cool little tip that you probably don't know exists, both in Photoshop and in Lightroom. So today we are talking scrubby sliders.
Oh, scrubbies. I'm ready.
You got? Okay, get that away from the sushi. We're not getting toilet scrubbers. No. These are scrubby sliders. They are found throughout Photoshop and in a few other Adobe products like Lightroom and Premiere Pro.
All right, show me what you got.
So let's take a look at this image right here, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up my layers dialog box. What you'll notice, a lot of times we use opacity, right up here where it says opacity, to how see-through that layer is going to be. But what happens for most of us, as long as we've been using Photoshop, is when we want to lower that opacity, what do? We click on the drop-down menu, we get our little slider, and we move it to where we think we want it to be. Well, this came in since CS4. This has been around a long time. So years. People have not known this. When I take my cursor and I put it over the word opacity, see how it turned into a little hand with a finger with little arrows? Right. That means if I click, if I drag to the left, the numbers go down. I drag to the right, the numbers go up. So now I can scrub with my mouse.
And that's where the scrubby comes in.
That's why they call it a scrubby slider. Let me show you a really cool thing that you can do with scrubby sliders. I'm going to grab my text tool, and let's say we need to put a little bit of text in this here. So there we go. We're going to throw a little bit of text on top of everything here. I guarantee you we have all done this because I've done it. You want to make your text bigger. Yeah. So what do? You go to your pull down menu, and you go, biggest number, 72. Well, that's not big enough. So what do you do now? You come to the box.
And I type a number.
And you type a number, right? And you know what I do? Because I'm so lazy, I go, how about 272? Whoa, that's too big.
Right.
So then I come back here and I say, how about 172? That's not big enough. And you kind of bounce back and forth until you hit it right.
Exactly what I do.
Watch this. See where I have the 2 T's there?
Yep.
As soon as my cursor touches it, see it's a scrubby, turn to the, click down, move it to the right, guess what? Text gets bigger. Cool. Move to the left, text gets smaller. You know, most of the time we're using text.
So why are you just showing me this after all these years?
I know, exactly. So now, I don't care what that number is. I care about the text fitting where I want it to fit.
That's awesome.
So you talk about a time saver. That was one of my favorite tips when I learned this myself, time saver. If we go ahead and jump into Lightroom, what you're going to find inside of Lightroom, let's look at our Develop panel here on our basic settings. Anywhere inside of Lightroom that we have numbers, rather than use the sliders, you actually can just click right on the number and drag it left and right and make your adjustments, see, just by dragging right and left. So, scrubby sliders, they don't seem like a huge deal, but they're a big deal when you do a lot of editing.
Mr. Chopstick Guy, that was a great tip.
It was.
Do you have any food for thought for this week?
My food for thought is the fact that you can watch web shows like this and we can tell you all kinds of little tips and tricks on what to do, but unless you actually go out and do it, you will never learn it.
And you just need to practice, practice, practice. Oh, but there's one more tip that I have for you.
It's the one that you were talking about the other day.
Yeah, it's exactly.
When you guys hear this,
it's just amazing.
Everything that you think about photography, every tip and everything you know comes off of this one tip.
You snap the pixel, and then make sure you use front back and then back bump focus. It's just incredible. So take that, use it, and we'll see you next week here on Panoptic Chopsticks.